It's time for Pucknology. Pucknology after dark. Oh my.
Oh my, indeed. Welcome to another fascinating and happy edition, which is probably going to disappoint many of our followers, to Pucknology After Dark, following a 3-1 Sharks over Pittsburgh victory. They have now won 5 in a row, and everything seems to be clicking on all terms. We have a milestone to talk about. We have a lot to talk about tonight, and we're going to try and do it within an hour. Well, we'll see how that works. Our significant others might be mad at us. But if you want to be a part of the show, please use the hashtag PucknologyAfterDark.
It's coming.
It's coming?
It's coming.
All right.
There it is.
We
Production
go.
value.
That's right. Production value to the next level. Use the hashtag to ask questions or comment. You can follow all of us on Twitter. That's right, all 10 accounts. That's iReadPucknology. Great name there. Pucknology, PuckGuy14, AJ_Strong, JAlexander46, at ChrisJBS, at Eric Lindy, at SJSharkBite, at Hunter, and at RBackhander76. All right. Our panel tonight, well, since he's got focused on my screen right now, we'll go with Ian Reed.
Hey guys, how you doing? Glad to be here as always.
What's the temperature out there right now?
-1 Celsius, and it's probably like 20
That's it?
Fahrenheit. Yeah, it's just getting cold now.
That's a heat wave in Canada.
No, it's not.
And also joining us from somewhere in the South Bay, Chris JWS.
It is a frigid 65 degrees here in San Jose. Like, I had to wear a coat earlier today, honestly.
Was it a light coat?
No, light coat's like 70 degrees. Like 60, 65 is some serious cold around here.
Oh my goodness. And of course, the greatest name ever, he spells it the right way as well, Eric Landy.
Hey, hi guys. It's sunny in San Diego as pretty much always.
You stay classy down there.
I will.
All right. So the Sharks win 3-1. We had the defense stepping up tonight. 2 goals by Burns, 1 goal by Paul Martin. Paul Martin, in his return to Pittsburgh, had a great game. But I'll let myself finish because Patrick Marleau had one of the greatest games of all time. 1,000 points tonight. He hit with the second assist on the first goal by Brent Burns. He is I believe the 83rd player to do that in NHL history, and like 6 are active right now. Finally happened. Marleau seems like he's starting to get into a groove again, which is always good for Sharks fans and Sharks fans everywhere. But overall, the game tonight, your thoughts? We'll start with Chris.
I mean, it's been the theme of the road trip is not making the big mistakes, and they continued that tonight. In some ways, they got outplayed at times, but they did not make those killer mistakes. They got the goaltending. They didn't give up the handful of odd man rushes they gave up with. None were particularly egregious. None were particularly bad. They managed to fight them off, and that's been the theme of all these wins is they haven't shot themselves in the foot, and that was what they were doing a lot during a lot of their losses. They were just giving up 1 or 2 plays a game, whereas like you can't give that up. But that's been the theme, and as an unapologetic Marleau fanboy, hell yeah.
Ian, your thoughts tonight?
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of was back and forth into the game. Like I had it on, but I had other things going on. But I was lucky enough to see Patrick Marleau get the milestone, which was just awesome to watch. I'm not gonna lie. And all in all, from what I saw, I mean, it looked like a solid outing by the Sharks. I thought that again, like Chris was saying, there was no huge egregious mistakes that I saw, and they kept it rolling. They had the foot on the pedal, it looked like, for most of the game, and they didn't let Pittsburgh back into the game at any point, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, they seemed like they kept them down and never really gave him a shot, especially late in the game when they pulled their goalie and just seemed to barrage Martin Jones. Landy, good evening to you, sir. Your thoughts tonight?
All in all, a great defensive effort. You could really see the defense collapsing well, moving a lot of the shots out of the way, giving them only perimeter shots, and really where the breakdown was on that one power play goal where they just kept jamming away at the rebounds, but that was the only glaring time I can think about where they actually let them get at rebounds. So just doing a great job, and Jones making that first save, and defense really collapsing in and helping out. All in all, great defensive effort.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, defense was in the offense and defensively. Definitely played two-way. Even Tennyson, they put him out there on the power play, and he definitely had a lot of chances tonight as well. Martin Jones. I mean, this guy is starting to become a big time name for the team.
Let me throw out some stats out there for you.
Well, perfect. That's what we're here for.
So we've got Martin Jones leading the leaderboard right now in the NHL for shutouts with 3. He's in a 3-way tie with Jake Allen and Michael Neuwirth. You've got him leading the NHL in wins now with 11. He's above Henrik Lundqvist with 10 wins. You've got save percentage. He is in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th position, 9th position, with a 929 save percentage, which is nothing to scoff at for a high minute or high game eating kind of goalie. And you've got him in 9th for goals against average. So all in all, just doing a really good job.
Yeah, I mean 929. I mean you're on the verge of elite save percentage there at that point.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, it's only for Lundqvist. He would be right up there for save percentage. Although you have like looking at the SAP stats powered for NHL.com, you have Christers Gudalaitis and Jonas Enroth and Antti Ranta leading the league in save percentage, but surprisingly enough, you have to go all the way down to where is he? You have to go down to number 19 in save percentage for Martin Jones, because he's just. I mean, obviously, Linus Ullmark is a way better goalie for the Buffalo Sabres than Martin Jones is.
Yeah, but I think the thing is when you're looking at the save percentage too, I mean, you got to look at the games played. I think Ullmark's played maybe half of the Sabres game, whereas Martin Jones has played 17 of 20 games for the San Jose Sharks.
Martin Jones is tied for second most games played in the NHL for a goal.
Right.
So keep in mind, big sample size. Go the other way.
The whole point, though, guys, is that that's how the stats page works on NHL.com.
Oh, so if you go to the general stats page, the overview page, you've got the rank of the starting goaltenders. So I would check that out first. Just straight off the NHL, just hit the little tab that says stats, and then go down to goaltender leaderboards, and those are for goalies that are starters. I think it's with an above game threshold, and then you get into this stats page.
Yeah, the stats that I was looking at, I just brought up Martin Jones's profile because it has like his regular season stats and then it has the league rank right underneath them.
I mean, at this point, a good qualifier would say be at least 10 games started, and then you say 10 games started, he's in the top 10 for save percentage, and that that's pretty reasonable. Most teams have played give or take 20 games, so starting half the games or more, he's 10 out of 10. So yeah. I mean, I'll take that. And I've said it before, the best goalies in the league, they average around 925 career. So if he's in that range, that's perfectly fine.
We got somebody on the Twitter. We got Chester Chivo, as always, such a great listener and viewer and sending in great messages. He's got one saying, I have a theory about why the Sharks have been a better road team than at home. He thinks that they're trying too hard at SAP Center, and I think I have to agree. I think they squeeze the stick a little bit harder at home. that poise, that normally really good defensive poise that they have just kind of seems to go away. What do you guys think?
I mean, historically, they've been really good at SAP, though, so I don't see why suddenly they feel the need or more pressure. Like, I mean, there's always been pressure to perform well there because of just past expectations carry on. But I don't know. I could go either way on it. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they like playing better when they're away from good old Johnny Torts, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I just lost my mind. Oh God, that's what I get
That's
for-
going in the intro.
Yeah, great. That's terrific. Way to f that up. Back to you, Landy.
If everybody's wondering what all the hubbub's about, I think it's the Generation X-Wing tweet saying "LOL at Puck Guy trusting NHL stats page." Star powered by SAP.
My point is that everybody missed the sarcasm. That's why I was bringing up the obscure quotes or the obscure goaltenders on there, because there's been a lot of talk about how horrible the NHL.com/stats page has been.
Yes.
In terms of getting updates, yeah. Chester Chivo commented just now on Twitter saying, making up for the reverse sweep and not making the playoffs. And I don't disagree that those are probably a factor, but I would also speculate that luck might also have something to do with it because, I mean, how many games have they played at home so far? 8? I mean, they're 3-5, I think, in 8 games, so that could all balance out by the end of the season. They have another 33 games to go at home, so we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they are, and I like Chester Chivo's idea to wear the road whites at home. I doubt they can do that if Chicago, especially, is on a long road trip.
Yeah, and the Sharks own the second best road record right now, only to Dallas. The Sharks are 9-3 on the road, and Dallas is 9-2. So the Sharks have really been liking that road cooking, I guess.
I guess it's the fancy restaurants. I don't know.
Hey, speaking as a road traveler here, it's good. It's good being on the road because you get to eat out quite a bit, and you get to eat some good food, and not on your own dime.
And now you kind of look at it this way. They played the Capitals, Devils, Islanders, Rangers. You've already hit Dallas already this year with your only visit there. You have Detroit, Buffalo, Boston, Philly, Pittsburgh, Blue Jackets. You already hit 10 of the 16 Eastern Conference opponents. So you're gonna be, and then I think they go out one more time for Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, and then you have just 3 games in the Eastern Conference after December 19th.
Yeah, and the guys always love playing in the Canadian markets. You see it with Thornton, and you see it with Marleau, especially in Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal. Those guys always seem to be lighting up the board there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this kind of streak can continue as far as good road play. Really what worries me, though, is the home play, and they've got to clean it up at home, and right now they're below 500 at home, which, I mean, of course, they've only played 8 games, and they've got a record of 3-5, but still I think it's a little messy at home. Really got to clean it up there. With the win tonight, the Sharks have now tied LA for points in the standings with the same number of rows. Had to get that in there. But, of course, we don't own the tiebreaker because we've played 20 games and LA has only played 19, so they've got a better win percentage. But really, it was good. They capitalized on the Coyotes losing tonight, so they've got a 3-point cushion on the Coyotes, who are occupying third. And currently, as we speak, Chicago and Vancouver are still in pregame warm-ups.
So they're just about to get underway, but yeah, you got it. And don't forget, Anaheim got shut out by Tampa Bay, 5-0. They still haven't gotten it going. I mean, they had it coming back a little bit, but then they've kind of come back down as well. So
Die. I'm sorry. I was supposed to be on mute.
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking at it, and now they've kind of picked up that cushion again. They have 3 points on the Coyotes, as you said, and then Vancouver is at 4, pending the outcome tonight. And then 6 on Anaheim with the game in hand, which will come into play tomorrow. They're getting their feet around. Logan's now practicing with the team. I mean, we'll get into more of that later on in the show, but it's just starting to come together again. And there was some nervousness tonight with having Bugner, Hedberg, and why can't I think?
Spot.
Spot.
Behind a bench. We've seen it in the past before. When the assistants take over, the team just fell apart. These guys kept this team together, played whatever they did coaching wise on the ice, really looked looked really solid. Didn't look like they missed a beat tonight.
No, and just for everybody's kind of reference, today Peter DeBoer was not with the team. He was out for personal reasons. We can only hope that everything's okay with him and his family. And if it's congratulations, and if it's not, then condolences. But yeah, no, they played a really good road game, really structured, and just had to do what they had to do.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about it, is that they just kept the thing rolling. Do you have the time on ice stats? I'm curious to see what the fourth liners looked like tonight again.
Yeah, let me pull them up right now. We've got the fourth line consisting of Tierney. He had 9 minutes 44 seconds. Of course, he was moved up a little later in the game. We have Mike Brown with 5 minutes 23 seconds, and Nieto, who started the night there, had 9 minutes 32 seconds, but was quickly replaced by Goldobin, who only had 7 minutes tonight. So you could see a little bit more shuffling, but you still had Marleau hovering around 21 minutes, Pavelski 22 minutes. You had Thornton at 19:56, so 20 minutes. You had the defense, though. You had Burns 24 minutes, but you had Vlasic and Braun legging out 28 minutes apiece.
It's too much.
Yeah, it is too much, but it's nice to see that Braun has finally got kind of that confidence back and got the trust of the coaching staff, which is good.
Well, I mean, Vlasic and Braun were spending a lot of time hard matched against like the Crosbys and the Malkins and all that. So and statistically they didn't have a great game, but they were having to take the hard matchup. So I mean, I think that's why they were out there a lot, because they knew Pittsburgh, in spite of all their struggles, they got star power. They got some guys on the top lines that can light up the lamp. So they were deploying them pretty heavily, especially in the defensive zone. I mean, I haven't looked through all the stats yet, but it looks like, just based on what I can see, it looks like they were pretty well matched all game long, and that's good. That means they were having them play defense, letting Burns and Martin play the offensive side, and then Tennyson and forget who played with them tonight, cleaning up the garbage there.
Nice
Who was
deep
it?
threes reference. What, with Dylan?
Dylan?
Oh, Dylan. Yeah, sorry, I forget about Dylan because Dylan is kind of.
Yeah, Tennyson, actually, his ice time was really low. It was lower than Mueller's average. Had 6 minutes 45 seconds, so that's not good at all. Dylan had 11 minutes 28 seconds, which is okay, but still not what it should be. We got a few tweets coming in. We've got Slushy Jake with a good one. In 2011, Sharks won 5 in a row on a 6-game road trip, and only lost to New York in the final game, which caused Jumbo to call New York soft. So that's kind of an interesting little spin. The last time we won 5 in a row on the road.
I remember that road trip pretty well, actually. Yeah. And at this point, though, they could dump the last game and do horribly, and it's still a successful road trip. I mean, going 500 on an East Coast swing is a positive, let alone winning 5 out of 6 minimum. So Yeah, although 2011 didn't end all that well. But
No.
that's another.
We also got Slushy Jake chiming in. Remember when Puck Guy 14 said the Sharks would go 1-5 on this road trip? Well, I think we all were
We
pretty
were all
low.
picking low.
We were
I mean, at this
pretty
point,
sour
we
going into the
all
trip.
are looking like major pessimists. I think like the most optimistic prediction might have been someone saying like 4-2 or something. I remember who it, and which oddly enough was not Puck Guy, who is normally Mr. Sunshine and Roses.
Well, after that homestand, was there anything to be sunshiny about? I mean, that just looked awful. Leaving San Jose on there, it's just ridiculous. But yeah, they've gotten it back together, on this road trip, and yeah, we don't want you to play fancy. We don't want you to play, like you have to put on a show. The show is that you guys win. So definitely, just bring your game. Just bring everything that they have at home on the road. Bring it home, and we'll be good. I'm trying to look on here, and I believe, if my stats are correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first multi-goal margin of victory since November 5th, when the Sharks beat the Panthers 5-2.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
This whole road trip was all one-goal games, except for tonight.
Yeah, no, I agree. Patrick M. Generation
no.
X Week is going to nail me for another no. But my no per 60 is off to a strong start, he says, which is true.
But it's always good to make sure that you keep that rate going, because you want to tail off at the end, because you don't want to get tired and rush it. And then also, it's a back-to-back, Landy, so we got to make sure that you keep it going throughout tomorrow as well.
True.
Gotta keep that percentage up. Yes, indeed. But yeah, I mean, they played a lot of close games in this road trip. Although Boston, I mean, I don't think it was close as the score indicated. There's a few I think that they were better than maybe the score indicated. But I mean, bottom line is what I've been reiterating. They haven't made the stupid mistakes. I had a math teacher in college for pre-cal that just said, pretty much all of you are A and B students. You just got to avoid the careless errors. Careless errors going to cost you, and that's been the Sharks. Like, I mean, even at home during the homestand, they had a lot of games where they weren't playing all that badly. It was just one or two stupid plays, whether it's
right.
that, I mean, the one that I keep coming back to is that goal from behind the blue line. That was probably the worst play I've seen all year.
Oh, the boy
that one in. But just plays like that. You can't have plays like that. That's been the Sharks' Achilles heel all year. Almost every game they've lost, you can identify at least one play where, like, that play right there, that should not happen. And have we had that play even once on this road trip where we're like, that shouldn't happen? I really can't think of one.
I'm sorry, I gotta retweet this. Chester Chivo, with the GIF of Eric Landy be like, row, and it's they're in the office, and it's four guys in seats, and the lady that's supposed to be leading the way, and then there's a guy on a bike, shouting the rhythm of it. Oh, that's freaking hilarious. Anyway, sorry.
We got Laurel tweeting in. She says, I believe the ladies, her and Rocket Backhander, predicted success on this road trip. So there you go. It always takes a woman's touch to be better.
Sunshine and roses. Yeah. No, I mean we're all down on the Sharks, and rightfully so. I think I predicted 2-3-1 or something for this trip, and I'll gladly eat that crow. I would rather have the Sharks win than me be right.
Oh, absolutely. We would rather be wrong than the Sharks would be wrong. But getting into it, anything that kind of bugged you? I thought tonight they played pretty solid. The only
one glaring error for me.
Besides the goal?
Yes, besides the goal. It would be the power play. The power play looked helpless tonight. I felt just way too many overpasses. You had Thornton passing up great opportunities to shoot on net, where he's basically got one defender parked in front of Fleury, kind of isolating Fleury out, and it's basically a one-on-one, and he decides to pass, and you kept seeing that, and you saw Vlasic get infected with the passing disease, which is not good because he's not a passer.
He's barely a shooter, let alone a passer.
I believe Jamie Baker called it overpass-itis or some shit like
Yes.
that. That was very articulate, Jamie.
Attaboy
Yes.
Bakes. Attaboy Bakes. Well, all right.
Sharks
Chris?
PK goes 83%, just for an FYI. They
Yeah.
let one power play goal in, but that is better than their average right now. They are 22nd in the NHL with PK, so it's starting to come back and climb. So tonight they actually outdid what their normal number is.
Yeah.
Although, am I alone gripping every time they go out there in the PK? Like, it feels like almost inevitable. Like, I remember 2011-12 was the same way. Like, for me, like, where it's like, I'm hoping they can kill it, but
Yeah, it's interesting because at the beginning of the year you saw those two high point guys really pressure the puck carrier and really did a lot to get the puck out at the very beginning of a shift, or they would stand up on the blue line and poke it out before they could even get set up. Now it seems like they've reverted to that Detroit passive box style again, and I'm always cringing because it's like, boy, if they get a pass through that box, that's it. It's over.
And I've seen some confusion, particularly I think it was the last game from Donskoy when he was out there. Like, I remember him and Martin kind of colliding, and I don't know the assignments because we don't have that information, but I'm going to guess it's more likely it was Donskoy who was in the wrong than Martin, just because Martin's a veteran. He should know. So it seems like there is some confusion out there at times, and if I can pick out some of those things, I'm guessing there's some smaller ones that maybe I don't even notice where someone's just a half step off or something like that where they should be. So it seems to me like that maybe it's not all there in terms of coordination.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Let's move on from this game. We have hit the quarter pole, or I believe Randy was corrected by saying the three-quarter pole, because I guess it reduces as you go around the track. But whatever. We've hit the first 25% of the games this season. Chris, I'll start with you since this was your idea. What would you grade the Sharks right now?
And this, okay, I'm grading on a curve here because I will consider everything involved. I'm not going to just go off of, what the best team in the league has the most talent. Say, I'll go off their talent, I'll go off their situation, with injuries and everything like that. All things considered, I'm going to give the Sharks a B- for the first quarter of the season. I think that's a fair grade. If Logan Couture was healthy the entire first quarter of the season, it would probably be more like a C+. But I think all things considered, when you look at the injury they had to deal with, that's no small injury. I've reemphasized this every time. That was their guy who was matching up against the top line centers of opposing teams, and that's a big loss. That's not just one of your best players. That's one of your most important best players. So I think it's fair to say B+. Bordering on A- in a few areas, like I think goaltending, maybe I would give it an A- because I think, and again, grading on the curve, I think it's been better than last season. It's been better than expected. And, defense, yeah, a little up and down. But overall, I'm decently happy with it, and I think they have something good to build on here.
Ian?
I'd probably give them. I think overall I'd give them a B. If you want to break it down a little bit, I'd probably give. Obviously, I agree with Chris 100%. I mean, the goaltending's been an A-. And it could be higher. I think if Stalock had some better games, although he did come around those last couple of starts. If you want to look at the defense, I'd probably, that's probably a C+, maybe a B-. But and then the forward group, again, I'd probably give a B+ too. I think that they've done okay depending on which forwards you're looking at. But obviously the special teams are a big fat D-.
Yeah. No, I'm on on that bandwagon as well. I think overall the defensive play puts them in the top third of the NHL right now, so I'd give that a B, a pretty solid B. They're middle of the pack offense at 48 goals scored, so I'd say that's C plus B minus territory. Special teams, I feel the power play to me right now is at an F. The PK is probably at a C. And goaltending, I would say B minus because of Stalock. So yeah, I'm in that overall B minus B territory.
I would kind of concur with all of you guys. Special teams, I would say D minus at the best, just because the power play is backward. It hasn't done anything special except for the Boston game. They did have 3 games that they went with a power play goal, which is nice. Although they've gone back to their usual thing, unfortunately. So D minus on special teams. The defense, I would give a C on. I think they've been better, and they have been better on this road trip. However, there's been some back downs, and for every good Vlasic Braun play, I would say there's always been a rough go with the Tire Fire 2016, I guess you could say. Although it's not as bad as the Tire Fire 2015 of Hannon and Irwin, but Dylan along with Tennyson
guy here.
with flavor of the night.
Right. Whatever we want to spend our frequent flyer miles on to send them from the Barracuda to San Jose or wherever they're at. Offensively, they're okay. I would give them a B. Although I'd like to see Hurdle put some more in the net. I know he's got some more defensive responsibilities along with face-offs. Wingles needs to kind of get going. We already talked about Long Beach native, how he needs to try to get in gear no matter what line it is. Goldobin, he's been okay. But the top 6 of Marlowe, okay, not bad. Pavelski's been his usual self on fire. Jumbo's been doing okay. Wardo, I think, is probably the surprise of everything.
Yeah.
And Melker Carlson coming in, from mystery injury / illness has been really good.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Yeah, no, I think if we kind of want to grade Doug Wilson for his offseason acquisitions, I'd give him a pretty solid B plus. I mean, maybe even A minus.
Honestly, I'll give him an A plus for this offseason. For this offseason, in a vacuum, this offseason I think is an A plus. I mean, not many GMs are going to have a better offseason than that.
Yeah.
Production on the ice.
And I mean, for me at least, that first-round pick and Sean Corrale was an absolute steal for Jones at this point. And so far, his play has showed me that it's not letting up. I mean, he's got the fundamentals. It's not a fluke. It's very repeatable. And to get that kind of a goaltender at that price is pretty amazing. So, like I said, I give it an A minus. Ward has been very good, and Martin, boy, he just quiets that defense, and they all seem to fall in line when he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, I would say A plus just because top 4 defensemen, top 6 forward, and what looks to be hopefully a long-term starting goaltender in one off season. It's pretty hard to do better than that in a single off season. Like occasionally someone may luck in saying better, and you could even say maybe he was really lucky this off season. He just managed to hit the right things. But I'll give I bagged on Wilson, but I will give him credit. He had a really good off season.
Oh, and Donskoy. And
Donskoy. I was going to just mention that. Like, you can't not mention Donskoy here. This was like probably the sneakiest good pickup of the offseason because it went under so many people's radars. And, here he is, and the guy just works. And, yeah, maybe he's not putting up all the points, but it doesn't matter what line they put him on, he seems to work because he's always there, going to the dirty areas, doing all the hard work. And it doesn't matter what line he's on, he's been excellent, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Donskoy's right up there with Melker Carlson from last year,
Yeah.
which was probably the only good pick he had. Good thing he did last year that's playing outside maybe Godolphin for drafting him.
2014 draft was solid.
Yeah,
and
no, it was.
It's still early out to decide on what they actually have, but definitely, I would say, he's done a pretty phenomenal job. Martin was probably his best pickup in a while. I would actually say Martin might be even better than what Ward's been doing, but Ward's right up there for it. So, guys, I'll ask you this: what do they need to improve on most? And I think we've already stated the obvious for power play and penalty kill.
Oh, we got Patrick M tweeting in Generation
Oh,
History,
no.
laughing my ass off. Now DW gets a passing grade. 6 games ago, he was flaming shit. Okay.
Whoa! I
No.
never said that.
I don't.
Let's back that up.
Yeah. Okay. So I think in my mind, he's always kind of been at that A minus B plus level, and the only reason why is because I wasn't as down on Martin. I thought his fundamentals were really good. The only thing that I would say would be Paul Martin's injury history is a little concerning, and I think that's what is bringing me back from giving him a full A.
I think at the worst point in this season, I would have said I would have downgraded Wilson's offseason to maybe a B minus, and that would have been maybe at the worst. But at the very least, he's been a solid B or better. And again, we're only 20 games in. There's a lot of hockey left to go. But to get back to Eric's question, as far as what the improvement on the most, I think for me, as the resident stats person, it's possession. In spite of winning, they've won in spite of not possessing the puck really well on this road trip. They've had a lot of breaks go their way, which a lot of people are saying it wasn't luck when they're losing. There was an element of that. They've had some better bounces. They've avoided the crucial mistakes, but still overall, the way you win long term is, you can't make those mistakes, but you possess the puck more. You get more shots directed towards the net. Whether they hit the net or not, the teams that win the most are the ones that get pucks directed in that general area. And that's the big thing for me, is I'd like to see them do that better. And I think with Couture coming back, I think those numbers will improve and they'll come out more on the better side of that.
And to be out of a long road trip, because for me they haven't had much time off. I mean, what was this? This is the 5th game in 9 nights or something like that, and then you've got 6 games in 10 nights. I mean
Yeah. Give them credit, like gut check. It was a big moment. The whole season could have really just gone down the drain on this road trip. It wouldn't have been over, but this road trip becomes a 1-5 road trip. Are we really seriously talking about the playoffs unless they just have a big rebound at home in December?
Yeah, and let's be also real here too. If they were to go 1-5 on this road trip, there would probably be some heads rolling, and there would probably be some moves to make as well. Because to have 1-5 on a road trip and already play this bad already. In the 5 games that they've played already, they've gone from being 6-8 points out of LA. Now they're tied with LA in points.
And they're not just tied with LA. They're actually have a respectable point total compared to the rest of the league. Obviously, if you take Montreal, Dallas, and the Rangers out of it, they're pretty much in line with everyone else.
Yeah, I always like to play around with the standings because they still leave the conference tab up. And if they were still in the 1 through 8 format, the Sharks would be 5th in the conference.
Especially with the Legion of Doom that is Central Division, which is pretty amazing.
Let's say hypothetically they did go 1-5 on this road trip, and let's just say they're 1-4 at this point because we don't know what happens for the next couple nights. But if they were 1-4 right now on this road trip, they would have 16 points and they'd be in 6th place in our division, 1 point ahead of Edmonton. So this road trip really was a make or break moment for them, because if it had gone south and fast, it could really have derailed the whole season. I'm not saying it would have been over, but again, there's that old saying: you don't win your division early in the year, but you can lose your division. And it was a gut check moment for them, and props to them for answering the call. They've found a way to do it.
Yeah, and as unfortunate as it is in the NHL, and I'll talk about this a little bit later because I have a big gripe about this. But if you're not in a playoff spot by Thanksgiving, I mean, there's very little movement. So you've got last year, pretty much everybody who made the playoff lock by Thanksgiving, only one team dropped out, and that was Toronto in favor of Ottawa. So, if you're not in a playoff spot by Thanksgiving, it does not look good for you. It does not bode well for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you need to keep in contention, Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and you kind of get an idea of where you're at, and then you just need to make sure you keep rolling. And the Sharks were doing that last year up until February, and where the wheels just completely came off, for sure.
Well, so you had a good segue there talking about just what ifs kind of moves if we had gone in the tank. There's still chatter about Marleau out there, even though he just scored his 1,100th point for the Sharks. You had the Blues GM Doug Armstrong in the house at Consol Energy Center when the Sharks took on the Penguins. So there's still some chatter going on, and he might have been in there looking at somebody from Pittsburgh, but definitely seems like there's something going on in San Jose, and I don't know what exactly they're looking at, but people have put it out there that it's the Marleau thing again. What do you guys think?
What I've seen is there has been chatter around the Penguins being sellers. I mean, I know there's been some chatter in the background for a couple of years now that it's time to tear down and rebuild, although again, we're through the looking glass here where it's like pretty much every year where the Sharks were very good, as soon as they lost, there was like time to tear it down and rebuild. So I don't know. I don't follow Pittsburgh close enough to know if that was serious chatter or not. But it does sound like to me like that there is talk that maybe it's more serious than in past years. That maybe Pittsburgh is going to look at retooling or doing a serious, maybe not full rebuild, but a rebuild. So it would. I mean, I would imagine that maybe both are in play, not just it's not one or the other. It's not like Marleau. It's either Marleau or it's the Penguins. It might be a combination of the two that would entice them to be there. Penguins are thinking about being sellers. Sharks are thinking about being sellers. So go see both of them one trip, right?
Right, but I mean, I can't see them doing anything, and I had a friend that criticized Kurz about, not even a few minutes after he scores 1,000 points, he's telling, St. Louis is looking at him maybe. I'm like, give me a break. I mean, and I do appreciate Kurz for what he's reporting and everything. However, the second that everything that is so happy and hunky dory, and then he talks crap. Sorry, Ian, go ahead.
That's not really talking crap, though.
No,
Sorry, interjecting here. I mean, it's just, Kurz being Kurz. I really think, based on his tweets, I think he really wants to be the one who's like, I said it first. Marleau traded. I said it first. Like, I think he does want that. And, I mean, that's the nature of reporting nowadays. Everyone wants to be the first to report something.
Okay, so for the sake of argument, let's say that it was Marleau looking at it. What kind of assets do you want back from the Blues? There are three guys. Well, first off, it better be a defenseman. But there are kind of two guys I'm highlighting right now, maybe three. There's been some rumblings about Pietrangelo wanting out. There have been rumblings about Bouwmeester not being satisfied, and also Shattenkirk. So what would you guys want for Patrick Marleau?
From St. Louis?
From St. Louis.
Tarasenko?
Yeah.
I think everybody would want Tarasenko, but I'd say for me it would be a net positive if you could land either Bouwmeester or Shattenkirk off of the Blues for Patrick Marleau. I don't know that they'll throw Shattenkirk overboard this quickly, but maybe Pietrangelo or Bouwmeester.
In a perfect world, I would love to have any of those. I mean, I would still be sad to see Marleau go, but if we were able to get a really good defenseman in exchange for him, it would be worth it in the end. If not for this year, for future years. But I've said it before. The only way I want to trade Marlowe is if we get at least fair compensation. I do not want to sell him at pennies on the dollar. No good reason to do that, period, but no good reason to do that to your franchise's all-time player. Like, that's just, no.
Just
But
seems like the timing's stupid.
yeah, I just think that now that you're rolling, are you going to want to give up something if you're not going to get something good back? And if you're going to get picks and a prospect, that's not going to help you now. Sure, that'll help you down the road, but what are we doing here? Are we building to do well in the playoffs, which I think is what we saw with the Ward and Martin signings, or are we still retooling on the fly? You're kind of at that crossroads right now, so that's where DW is at, and that's why we have to be critical.
Well, it's a tough situation also because they won 5 in a row, but if they go and lay an egg in the next bunch, and go like 2 and 5, suddenly we're right back where we were at the beginning of this road trip, where we're like not sure if this is a playoff team or not. And this team has shown itself quite capable of railing off a bunch of wins and then railing off a bunch of losses. So it's hard to say if we're buyers or sellers.
Yeah, and not only that, but just looking a little bit into the Blues' depth in their system, they don't have a prospect rated above 7.5 on Hockey's Future, and that's not good. There's not a lot of depth in that system. So, I mean, I don't know what you're thinking about prying out of them, but I just, if it doesn't include one of those 3 defensemen, I don't want anything to do with it at this point.
Well, and you're also going to have to move somebody because they only have just a little under 2.4 million of cap space available. So yeah, unless it's Pietrangelo, I doubt the Sharks would be interested in a 32-year-old Jay Bouwmeester.
But I think Bouwmeester is kind of what you look at as far as a one-for-one kind of trade at this point, because you've got a 36-year-old Patrick Marleau, and I mean, if I were St. Louis, I would be hanging up the phone if I had a Kevin Shattenkirk or a Pietrangelo involved in any kind of talk.
There's no way. It'd have to be Bouwmeester. And Bouwmeester's been kind of on the. I feel like Bouwmeester has been rumored to be on the block forever.
So, Generation X just tweeted in, saying, what is quote-unquote fair compensation for Marleau? And honestly, when I say fair, I mean we better not be losers in the deal. We better not be the ones who lose in the deal. Like, it better at least be a draw in terms of when everyone looks at it 6 months to a year later, better say we at least, won that deal, or we at least broke even. There's no way I want us to trade him in a situation where it's like, yeah, we clearly lost that because, we gave, like, let's say we traded him off for a barely 4th defenseman, or, a mediocre player. Let's like say Jamie McGinn. That's the archetype right there for a losing deal. We cannot, if we're going to trade him, we can't lose that deal. That's just it. I don't see a way we can lose that deal. And I mean, okay, and that's not the greatest answer because it's not very specific, but that's what I mean when I say we got to get fair compensation. We can't be the loser in that deal because that looks terrible to trade your franchise's all-time player for shit. That's just it.
Right. You have to kind of look at it like how it would be like the Pittsburgh Penguins trading Crosby. You're going to demand top notch for that. But I mean, you just can't. You can't get like prospects, or you can't.
I'd rather ask for too much and get rejected than ask for too little and get something. Like, right. I would rather be accused of asking for too much for him. I don't see a way we get better by accepting, even say 80 cents on the dollar. We don't get better that way.
No,
we get better that way by at least getting fair value, equal, roughly an equal trade where we come out with something good, or we don't trade them at all. I just don't see a good way to do that.
No, absolutely. Go ahead, Ian.
Oh, I was just gonna mean, like, Crosby's 28, though. I mean,
Oh,
there's a
sure, but I'm saying
significant difference.
sure, but my point is that Pittsburgh would be the same way, where they're gonna try to get almost an overpayment, almost like how St. Louis got an overpayment for Bill Guerin in that trade, or how we overpaid to get Brian Campbell, something like of that nature. So
Yeah, but at that point, you'd need to do it as a, it'd have to be a deadline deal. I mean, you're not gonna demand those kind of deals before the deadline.
Yeah, and I think honestly the best you're probably going to pry out of the Blues, in all honesty, is probably Bouwmeester and maybe a pick. Maybe a second
Yeah.
if you're really lucky, and maybe you could pull out a B-level prospect out of that. So it'd be maybe like a third, a B-level prospect, and Bouwmeester for Marlowe. But even still, I mean, I just. I'm in full agreement with you guys. If you're not going to get a good trade, don't trade him because
exactly.
Because it's not worth it at that point. But if Marlowe wants seriously out, you've got to try and manufacture something out of thin air.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't buy that he really wants out that badly, because I think if he did, I mean, okay, these are all rumors we're hearing, but if he really wanted out, I think he'd probably be a lot more willing to waive his clause more liberally. Like, when we're talking Rangers, LA, and Anaheim, and I guess a few other ones have been thrown in there as possibilities. That doesn't sound like someone who's desperate to get out. That sounds like someone who has some very specific things like, if you trade me, this is where I want to go. So it doesn't sound to me like it doesn't strike me as someone who really wants out of here badly. I think he likes it here. And I don't think he's complacent here, but I think he likes it here. And I think it's more of just the normal Marlowe trade. I mean, again, I said it before, 18 years he's been here. How many of those years have there not been a Marlowe trade rumor?
Yeah, no, and I mean, there have been years where we were literally, going shift to shift, thinking he was going to be shipped off that game to freaking Montreal or the Rangers or whatever.
Right.
So I mean, I'm totally in agreement. I don't think that the trade wins are strong here. I think it was just probably a combination of the Sharks losing and maybe somebody saying, oh, this is kind of my proposed list if I ever needed to get out of here. But I don't think it's anything more than that.
Yeah, and again, winning fixes everything. You notice that these rumors didn't start up until now, after somebody scored their 1,000 point, and well, I'm going to just leave it at that because I'm not going to upset any fellow people.
So Generation X-Wing just tweeted in again. He didn't like my answer before, understandably. It was not very specific. I'll answer this real quick, and then I'll pose it to the rest of you guys as well. But he asked, what do we think is dollar for Marlowe? For me, honestly, it's at least a top 6 forward, because he is still a top 6 forward. He will be a top 6 forward for probably a few more years. It's got to be at the minimum a top 6 forward. It's got to be a top 4 defenseman, or it's better be a pretty damn good prospect. Because here's the thing. The teams that are going to trade for him are probably going to be teams that are close. A team that's going to trade for him is not going to be a team that's like a few years away. It's going to be a team that is thinking, this year or next year is our year. We need that one more scoring forward. So for what the Sharks have in him now, they need at least top 6 forward, top 4D, or they need a damn good prospect, something like that. So again, I'm not getting super specific, but for me, like I said, it can't be a third liner and a prospect. That's shit. No, it's got to be something where we actually come out with some value on our end. And even in the end, if somehow we still lose it in spite of getting a top 6, I can still look back and say, okay, we at least tried to get fair value. We didn't sell him low in hopes of getting anything, which is what I don't want to see. And that's not just a sentiment thing. I don't want us to sell anyone low, but especially one of our best players we've ever had.
Yeah, and kind of circling back a little bit too. I mean, we still haven't seen the full capability of the Sharks team because Couture has been out. So how can you make a justified and a good trade when your full team isn't even there yet? How can you really gauge what you have as a team before you have everything on the ice. Which brings me to another point. Couture started to finally skate. He's actually a little bit ahead of schedule. He said he wasn't going to start skating until after the road trip, but he started skating in Philadelphia, kind of light in sweatpants, didn't really do anything. Today, he practiced in full gear, was doing conditioning drills out there, and says he feels pretty good. So it'll be interesting because he'll be coming back soon, and then we'll really get an idea of what this team is going to be. Because I think that this team has showed a lot of resilience playing the way that they have these last 6 games, and if you throw into the mix with Couture, I think you start to go back to that first 4-game kind of look that we got when they had monster possession numbers and just playing great. I think they're more that team than they are, the team that we saw go 1-5 on a homestand or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. And again, not to piggyback back to it, I mean, first off, it's great to see Couture in gear and everything. You are not in a situation where you absolutely need him, so let him take his time. Do not get pressured by Logan to get me out there, get me out there, get me out there. I mean, you got plenty of time. I'm thinking maybe the next road trip would probably be the best when they have to hit up the Eastern Canadian cities. I think that's probably his goal or an idea of where he'll be back. But as for the Marleau thing, I kind of look at it as Marleau as the Bill Guerin now, and we kind of have the shoe on our foot. I think that's where, at the deadline, if the team is pretty much out of it, you better get a lot out of it in the return, because he's probably going to be somebody's missing piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all cap space too, right? I mean, here's kind of my look at it. I mean, there's so many things that we don't know. We don't know, if, like, we can assume that Marleau doesn't want to go, and that's all well and good, but we don't know that. We don't know what the plan for him is going forward. We don't know if he has another contract coming in San Jose after this one's up. So, I mean, it's hard to, without knowing, I mean, obviously we're not going to know these things, but it makes it hard to determine, what they should do with him. If the plan is that Marleau is, it's time for Marleau to go, and, I don't want to see it, but I mean, that's the business, then, yeah, I think if you're going to go, I think you want to do it at the deadline. You want to try and command, a pick. If you're talking to a team like St. Louis, I mean, what are you going to get from Marleau? I don't know. I mean, you might have to take something, but you might have to take just a crappy contract as well. I mean, that might be the reality of it, I mean, it's a salary cap system, so, do I think Bouwmeester is worth what he makes? I think he's, $5.4 million? I'm not that high on Bouwmeester, to be completely honest with you. I find he's kind of soft, and that's just me. But, that's a contract maybe you have to take back to move him, Marleau. And then, if he's still signed, he's better than Dylan. He's better than, the flavor of the night.
Yes.
And he's still going to be serviceable defenseman for whatever many years is left on his deal. So I wouldn't be shocked to see something like that if St. Louis really needs to just move that contract off the books to make room for other things, because obviously they've got Tarasenko signed for, I think, ever now, and stuff like that. So you might just have to take a crappy contract back for him, and that's just the nature of the business now because of the cap.
Okay, so I guess let's just put a bow on this. So I'd say we've got, if they're, let's say, at 500 at the trade deadline, does he go? What are your guys' percentages on if he goes, if we're 500 at the trade deadline?
If we're 500, I still say 90% chance he doesn't go, just because I don't think he's an easy move, because I would hope Doug Wilson thinks the same thing I do to a certain extent, that don't get ripped off for him. Okay. Patrick, Generation X disagrees with me as a top 6 forward on contending team. I would advocate he is. He's top 100 in scoring, and he's consistently being matched against top forwards on the other team. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, whichever way. But, yeah, I don't think he gets dealt because it's not an easy deal.
So we got 10% from Chris. What about you, Puckeye?
I have 5%, and I agree with Chris. You got to make sure you're almost getting a steal in the deal. I think that's the only way Marleau gets traded, and DW knows that. No way.
Ian?
The only correct answer is he goes only if he wants to go, and I'm not sold that he wants to go.
Okay, and I am of the opinion that if we're at 500, yeah, I'm with Chris. It's less than a 10% chance. If we're over 500, I don't think he gets dealt. What do you guys think? If we're over 500 and in a playoff position,
No way.
no way.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nope, no chance.
All right, guys.
Unless someone just gives Doug Wilson a deal he can't turn down, which
Or
Exactly.
is
Marlowe
not
wants him
impossible.
that badly.
Yeah, I don't think that happens, but I think I mean if someone gives him a deal he can't refuse, a la Joe Thornton in 2005, which that was
Alright.
I mean that was some wizardry by Doug Wilson right there.
All right, so it sounds like Eric is on the clock here. So let's get let's go ahead and get the preview up for tomorrow. So Sharks play Columbus Blue Jackets, a little bit of a trap game. It's a trap. What do you guys think?
I think Stalock gets the start. You have 2 extra days, but at the same time, I think Jones can. Why not? You're riding the hot hand. Why stop now? So I still say Stalock starts though.
Do they win? Do they not win?
Oh, they'll win.
They'll win. Okay, Ian.
Yeah, I definitely think Stalock gets a start. Yeah, he gets a couple days off, but he had a lot of work tonight. A lot of work. So I would say that Stalock probably gets the start. Do they win? How's Columbus even doing? I don't even know.
They're
They've been
6-4
a
in
lot
their
better.
last game, so they've been trending upwards, but still not that great.
Yeah.
They put
Man,
themselves in a-
Columbus.
Otherwise, they'd be in the thick of it.
Yeah. You know what? I'll give the Sharks the win tomorrow, although I'm nervous
Yeah.
because they suck at home. So I'm gonna give the Sharks the win because the Jackets are terrible at home.
Chris.
I say Stalock definitely starts. I would be shocked if Jones was starting. I mean, he's had a heavy workload this trip. As far as winning, losing, I think they actually dropped this one to the Jackets in a close game. I don't think they have a huge disappointment, but I just my gut feeling is they're going to be tired. It's been a long road trip, and I'm hoping not, but they might be a little complacent because I mean, right now this road trip's a win already. Like they've won 5 out of 5 so far. So my gut says 3-2 loss.
Okay. So this is my thing on this, and we'll go after this little bit. So my thing is this game coming up will tell us a lot about the state of the Sharks. If they come out tomorrow like gangbusters and really put it to the Jackets and say, you know what, guys, we owe you one for kicking our ass at home, then I will be super proud of this team, and it says a lot about where they're at. If they come out and they drop it and it's like a 4-1 loss, then it's just the same old Sharks all over again. If they're competitive, then the jury's still out.
Yeah, I agree.
I think regardless of the results, I would still give them a lot of credit for the road trip. Like unless they lose like 9-1, like then maybe yeah. But I think if as long as they are competitive tomorrow, I think it's I wouldn't say same old Sharks. Like they would have to really disappoint tomorrow to say that for me.
Yeah, but that's what we're kind of used to. They kind of let us down in that last game before they come home because they just want to get home.
Yeah, but I mean when you win 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
I don't worry as much, and sometimes it's not even like they just I mean, like I said, they might get complacent, but it could also just be they'd have a bad game, which could happen. And if you've had 5 good games out of 6, that's a win by far on the road.
All right, Eric, take us home.
All right, so the Sharks beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-1. I was already thinking Columbus Blue Jackets, which they will play in Columbus tomorrow to finish off the 6-game road trip. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit up Pucknology.net for all your info about this great team that we love and the sport that we love. We will be back here tomorrow after the game with hopefully a perfect road trip, which Slushy Jake, I kid you not, predicted in a tweet to Puck Guy, myself, and AJ. Until then, speaking for
AJ Sog! Oh, Jesus.
Rocket Backhander, Wendell McGowan, Ian Reed, Chris JWS, Eric Landy, Gentry Alexander, Felix, and our entire staff, including the great Daryl Martin, and Randall Hahn, and Rocket Backhander, I am Eric. Good night. Keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh.